and a happy Sunday to you. I am here because my heart is so full that I wanted to connect with you on a few things I've been thinking about and contemplating these last several days, that in speaking with other people and some friends, turns out I'm not the only one thinking about things in this way. A lot of people I know of all sorts of ages still don't quite feel what we used to feel when we start a new year. A lot of us, and maybe you, are still sorting. We're still going through the incredible, unimaginable, profound change of 2025, both personally, collectively, nationally, and globally. 2025 was a year, and we're still sorting. We're still integrating the changes that we have decided are in our highest and best good, the changes that reflect new habits, new identities, and new roles for ourselves that better match our current values and who it is that we now want to be in this ever-changing world. So many of us had change imposed upon us. Some of us imposed change on others. And for pretty much most of us, it was a little bit of both. Relationships in particular went through the grinder in 2025. And I truly believe that one of the main causes of that is because the programs upon which we developed, sustained, maintained, and lived in relationships, the rules, the agreements, all of it cracked open, fell away, revealed itself to us. We saw the underbelly of who we have been in relationships, who others have been in relationships. We've been shown the dynamics of childhood patterns and the absorption of what our parents were modeling. It's just been so much. And so before we plow ahead into a new year, let's take the time we need to acknowledge that we are in the in-between. We're in this place of sorting, of deciding, okay, now that we stand still amongst the ruins and the wreckage of 2025, what do we need to bring with us? What still needs our attention? And what perhaps is absolutely complete and we are letting it go? And so if you're feeling this way, I would love to hear it in the comments. What are you sorting through? How are you feeling as we kick off the first days of January? As I've said in my podcasts, for me, I'm just really aligned with the Chinese New Year, which doesn't start until February 17th. I like this time that we have to, as I said, sort, integrate, and prepare ourselves for what's seeking to emerge, because the in-between, this space that so many of us are in, individually and collectively, is a very sacred place. Of course, we think of the cocoon. We think of the chrysalis. We know the caterpillar, we know the butterfly, but we really don't spend a whole lot of time talking about the cocoon, the chrysalis. And for me, and the work that I do with the New Design for Living, where we are reimagining ourselves, we are reimagining how we live, how we love, and how we treat each other. We are reimagining everything. We're using radical imagination to design a new way that doesn't really exist. There are no instructions for the new way except, unfortunately, the heart, which always points us true north. And so I just wanted to spend a few minutes today outlining the in-between. And we're going to talk more about it in the days to come, because we don't spend enough time. People will, mention the in-between. They'll talk about the chrysalis, but there's so much about it that could be very helpful to you and for you as you're going through this time of sorting and integration and preparing for the year ahead. So here's what I've learned about the transformation process. And we'll use the caterpillar and the butterfly because there's nothing else quite like it. You know, so many of us, myself included, versions of myself can relate to the caterpillar, right? Very close to the ground, very entrenched in the 3D world of effects. For many, dragging their belly along the earth, not really standing up or able to, let alone taking flight. And so when the caterpillar literally self-ingests, when it consumes itself, like the fire of 2025 has consumed so many of us, it spins this beautiful protective outer cocoon, outer shell. Something deep within it knows that it needs something like that to not just hold the death of what it no longer is, but to also hold the space of what it's becoming, to be able to actually be a container for the butterfly and for those wings that are going to need something very tight pressed up against them so they can get strong for flight. What I have found to be so profound about this whole story is that in the caterpillar are the imaginal seeds of the butterfly. That means cells of the butterfly are in the caterpillar. And that death and rebirth transformational process is necessary, not just for the old version to fall away and dissolve, but for the new version that was planted in it to grow and become itself. And that is the truth of us. Whoever you're wanting to become, whatever this new version is, however it is you want to make yourself and your life better, make your habits more aligned with healthy living, however it is for you, those seeds of that version of yourself, that your habits and your discipline are helping you become, they're already a part of who you are now. Whatever version of yourself that might have died in 2025, whether it was imposed upon you or by your own reckoning, know that in the rubble of that version of yourself are the seeds of who it is that you're becoming. And those seeds take time to germinate. They take time to crack open and to take root. And so if you feel like you're in a very tight, enclosed place right now, if you can relate to the cocoon and the idea of the chrysalis, if you don't know who you're becoming, but you definitely know you're not who you used to be, I want to encourage you to really see this, even if nobody else does, as a very sacred and a very profound, mystical, and important moment in your life. Sometimes the chrysalis lasts a short period of time, but most of the time, the chrysalis is a phase for transformation and development before you fly. You know, if you slit the cocoon open because you felt bad that the butterfly was trapped in such a tight space, you'd actually kill the butterfly. That action would kill the butterfly. It needs the darkness, it needs the tightness, it needs to be that wrapped up into itself before it can know itself in all its glory and take full flight. So this is the In-Between series, and I'm really excited to be with you on a more regular basis to share what is so important to me these days, because we are in profound change. Just because we celebrated a new year based on the calendar and what the world tells us we should be doing on that night, we're still in something. So if you're feeling like, gosh, there's all this pressure to make resolutions, oh no, not resolutions, intentions, or I got to launch my business, my products, my services, all of these things. If that doesn't feel in alignment with where you're going and who you are, or just not in alignment with what's happening for you right now, I want to encourage you to honor that. There's this fantastic person on Instagram. Their name is JJ Douglas. And he said something today that was so profound, I wrote it down. He said, a new year doesn't change our lives. A new version of ourselves does. So if you're not feeling alignment with the calendar, if you're still sorting and integrating, if you're still working things out with yourself and others, you are exactly where most of us are. And so today I also want to touch on what I've come to describe as the 5 areas of change. And we're going to get deeply into this over the next couple of months. There are 5 areas of change. Number 1 is the actual change cycle and some of the experiences, conditions that are a part of change. The second is the inner landscape, and none of this is linear. It spins and spirals. It exists simultaneously. There could be 2 or 3 or 4 completely different things going on within you all at the same time. And that's why I always say, just stretch the canvas wide enough for all of that to coexist. So the inner landscape is what we feel, what we're feeling inside because of change. If you've gone through the loss of a loved one, if someone in your life died last year, you're feeling grief. You're feeling sadness. You're mourning. There's all sorts of emotions and feelings that come along naturally when change is happening in our lives. The third area, and this is when things get really exciting for me, is an area where I call the helpers. These are insights that I've gleaned from my journey with change and personal transformation that when you become aware of them are helpful. For example, the observer is a helper. The observer is that role that meditation yields when you're able to step back behind your thoughts. It's not that they stop, but you're more seasoned at not getting tangled up in them. You're in the back row of the theater as an observer looking, than in the front row feeling like you're a part of the scene. The fourth category are what I like to call the invitation. This is what change ultimately offers us, an invitation to be different, to live differently, an invitation to look at life through a different lens, an invitation to see your change from a different perspective. You know, in my book, The Confusion Experiment, all the work I've done around change, I've gone deep into the 3 ingredients of change: confusion, chaos, and uncertainty, which is where we are now, again, individually and collectively. Maybe not every area of your life, but there may be a few areas that you can relate to those conditions in the new design model and in the in-between when you're able to look at those experiences from a fresh perspective. When you're able to see the gifts that chaos, confusion, and uncertainty have for us, if we could just stay still enough, long enough to experience them, it's a game changer. So whatever change you might be going through, or whatever change is being imposed upon you, wherever you may be in the cycle of change, think about, what is it inviting you to consider? What questions is it inviting you to ask? What habits is it inviting you to change? The invitation of change. And the last one, the unseen forces. I mean, there's so much here. But for this basic overview today, the unseen forces are just that. They're the forces that we cannot see, but we see their effects. We see the results of them. For example, nobody can see the law of gravity, but we see it in action if we step off a roof, for sure. So we don't have to see the law of gravity to respect it and to know that it's a thing and it's governing our lives, and we can have a respectful relationship with it. That's what the unseen forces are all about. Things like divine timing and synchronicity. I mean, divine timing, not every moment is a season for blooming. Again, if you look at the seed and the soil and the plant as an analogy, first you have to know what it is you want. You pick the seeds based on the outcome. You know, the seeds are the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, the discipline that best align with giving you the greatest atmosphere for those outcomes to be a part of your own experience. However, at some point, you have to let it go. At some point, the farmer drops the seed into the soil, knowing that it's prepared the soil, it's given that seed the best conditions possible, but the timing of that growth, the moment the seed cracks open, the process by which something invisible pulls what's inside that seed through the density of the dirt into the sunshine, we have nothing to do with that. And so when you're going through change, because the mind doesn't like not knowing, the mind needs to know, to be calm, to be at peace. If you feel anxiety, it's a good moment to first and foremost take a breath and try to breathe and calm your nervous system, because there's a lot going on out there that's tapping our nervous system if we allow ourselves to be exposed to it for too long. But if you're feeling anxiety, a good question to ask is, what's underneath this? What is my mind afraid of? What is my mind concerned about? So, a little introduction to this really profound phase of transformation called the in-between. And like I say, I would love to know what your experience is on this, what is this, the 4th day of the year. How is it going? How are you feeling? Where are you still sorting? What might you still be integrating? You're definitely not alone. It is a very sacred time, and it's also the season of stillness. Here in Anchorage, Alaska, we're in a bad cold snap. I'm talking -7 degrees as a high, okay? This is when if you go outside, you put your life at risk. The juice in your eyeballs freeze. I mean, it's cold, brutally cold. It's a time for stillness. You look at the trees, absolutely still. And what do we say when we look at them covered in that ice and that ice mist? Oh my gosh, how beautiful. Let's lean into this season of stillness. It's not to say we're not doing, but prepare yourself for the doing. We've got the year of the fire horse starting on February 17th. We have time before we take off. So let's use this time to sort, to clear, to organize, to integrate, and to be still. And if it's uncomfortable being still, be okay with that. If you're uncomfortable being still, if your hand is always, following your mind's impulse to grab the phone, you could say things to yourself like I do. I know you're uncomfortable being still right now, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay being in the discomfort of sitting still. I don't have to do something about it, except acknowledge it and help myself practice being more comfortable sitting in what may be the discomfort of stillness. Because when you're able to do that, when you're able to be comfortable sitting in the discomfort of stillness, then you'll become comfortable sitting in the stillness. And then you'll look forward and you'll create the space and you'll protect your stillness, because what you will find there is everything. Everything lives in the stillness. So I hope some of this has been helpful for you. Feel free to share it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take super good care of yourself, and we'll continue with this new series, The In-Between.